Oh, there we go.
There we go. That intro is actually a little bit short. I'm going to have to make that longer.
It needs to be 10. It needs to be 5 seconds.
Indeed. How are you doing?
Busy, man. It's been a busy week, and I think everybody who's in crypto will know it's been a shitty couple of days. But and I don't think, personally speaking, I don't think it's going to end tomorrow, and I don't think it's going to end till Monday. I reckon we got 4 days. 4 days of this, but I don't think the bull run is over by any means. If it does keep going down for a while, I reckon it'll go down for a maximum of a week, so 7 days. But I think that we're burning a little bit too hot this week. We saw a lot of projects have even DIA almost tapped $6 after its announcement that it was being listed on Binance. And I think that there was just too much greed happening. I mean, and I'm actually, and this isn't a plug for myself, I do this all the time, but I'm actually releasing a history of DeFi video straight after this live stream. The video itself is compiling right now.
Awesome.
Where we look at things like hot dogs, which was offering a 44 trillion percentage annual ROI, like an annual APY, by farming hot dogs, because hot dogs got to like $4,000 in 2 days. Because why? And so when projects like that exist, where your APY is like in the trillions, and people are still looking at that going, yeah, I'm in because I can make money. I mean, admittedly, you would make a lot of money very fast at 44 trillion per annum. But the project lasted 2 days and then rug pulled and then gone. And when people are seeing this and thinking, yeah, logically, I can make money out of this, even if they know it's a scam, then you know you're in a bit of a hot market. So I think we got a bit too hot. However, there's still a lot of really cool projects being built, a lot of really cool stuff being released in the next little while. I mean, one project in particular that I like is Gather. That's getting released next week, which is a really, really nice project that basically it allows companies to, while users are browsing websites, farm crypto without affecting the user experience whatsoever. So their target audience are people like charities, websites where people are basically just using them all day, but then there's not a lot of CPU load. It's actually a really, really interesting concept, but and I think that'll release this week. That's going to be an interesting one. The Rio Finance release is in a few weeks. Reef is coming out soon as well, the end of the month. And then September, I think, is actually going to be quite a good month. But I think that stuff like what we've seen is fairly common. And I think that if you actually have a look at what's happening in the global economy, especially in the US, with the NASDAQ taking a bit of a dive and, sort of Tesla getting smashed for, probably good reason. We're sort of in the middle of just what needs to be at least a minor correction. And Do you see the correction being correlated? I mean, a lot of people these things are always correlated. We're not in a state where we have a two-tier market system. I mean, the US market always leads other markets. Like there are very few times in the world. I mean, like when Corona first hit and the Chinese market dropped like 15% in a day, the US market did not even look at it. Like they just went, okay, great. So we're still in a world where the United States market dominates literally everything. And I think it'll be at minimum a couple of years before we see that decoupling, especially in crypto. Maybe sooner, who knows, maybe longer. But I think it'll be a couple of years before we can safely say that crypto will be a autonomous market that will be decoupled from the world's largest economy. And I'd probably say that a lot of the reason for a lot of the positive movement in crypto and a lot of the reason why so many people have so much time to invest all this money into DeFi and do farming and blah, blah, blah is because of the current lockdown situation. and the fact that there's been significant stimulus in the United States, which has made a lot of people a lot of money. So never forget that we are sort of, in a bit of a weird space. And that's why I've always sort of said, like in DeFi, we've pretty much got till around the US election to I think that's where we'll see some good pumping. And then after that, it's all a bit murky. But I mean, if we're in a trading sense, as a trader, you look at what is legitimately in front of you, and you don't really stress out too much around what's on the horizon, because we'll worry about that when we get to it. But at the moment, I don't think that the last few days are by any means we're not back in January 2018 by any means.
Yeah,
we haven't seen that level of crazy. Just remember that if anyone who's actually in here, is that remember that the market capitalization of crypto when it hit its high was 800 billion, sorry, and we're still in the 300s. And there are more users of cryptocurrency now, as in people who are in their real lives using cryptocurrency now compared to when we were back then. So we haven't got that tulip mania that we had in 2017 and 18.
It's a question for you.
Yeah, sorry.
Right. So the the total market cap of crypto went down it went down quite significantly, right? I think it was nearly 10%. So that would kind of indicate that liquidity was leaving the crypto market.
I mean, obviously, I'm all DeFi at the moment. I mean, in the broader crypto space, I mean, a lot of that was taken out of Bitcoin because Bitcoin has completely shit the bed. So when Bitcoin falls, then obviously it's going to disproportionately affect the rest of the market. If we actually look at how much money has, say, left DeFi, as in how many assets, if we look at funds under management or total locked value or total value locked, depending on which terminology you use. I mean, in DeFi, we've gone from 9.4 billion to 8.8 billion, which is where it is right now, if you have a look at DeFi Pulse. So the DeFi space where we're in now, which is, I think, going to be the next big mover, it hasn't really been there hasn't really been a big move. And this is in regards to user engagement. So we're not seeing users currently, totally leaving the DeFi space. You'll get a sell-off of assets. That's always going to happen. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I think we're going to see, I think there's a lot more yet to come, especially in this market. There's a lot of money on the sidelines wanting to come in, and there'd be a lot of money a lot of people who would have made a lot of money in the stock market over the last couple of months that would probably want to chase that next level alpha, which is pretty much what we're seeing here.
So when you see like big movements in like market cap in the crypto markets, right, is that usually going to be more institutional money, or is that going to be, more on the retail side?
I'd probably say that crypto is still predominantly retail. However, there are a lot of inroads that are happening in the crypto space that are going to be sort of going to allow more institutional investors to get in. For example, in a number of states, they're now issuing licenses to allow financial advisors to advise clients on investing in cryptocurrency. Now, I don't think that is going to be something that's going to affect the market in the short term. Like, this isn't going to be something that's like they're going to suddenly, be able to start selling crypto and then crypto is going to go up 50x or something. This is something that's going to be gradual, because remember that in crypto, and I mean, I used to work in the financial advice space. You can't just sit there and tell your clients, we're going to go pump you into YFI. Or something like that. It's basically going to be a lot of money into Ethereum and Bitcoin, and maybe some of those other top 10 products, and they're going to basically get that run up, and then we'll see the alts then trickle down as people then cycle out of Bitcoin and Ethereum and put it into the more high yielding assets. So no, by no means do I think that. And if you are an institution and you are like one of those, you're investing big money, you're not investing in this DeFi space. There's just not enough liquidity to support it. Like if you owned, I own some. I've learned my lessons from 2017, and I don't own that many coins now. Like, as in, I concentrate my investments into I basically keep it at a maximum of 10, and I keep everything in less than 10. And if you have, say, more than $100,000 worth of any token, unless it's absolutely pumping, and if it's not a top 10 token, you then have the issue of being able to sell it. If you try to put a $100,000 sell order into any of these assets, you're basically going to tank the market. So just remember that if you're and I wouldn't say that I'm a whale by any means. I also wouldn't say that I'm definitely not an institution or a venture capitalist. So these bigger boys in the market, I mean, they can't sell today. They're not selling today, and they're not selling next week or next month or whatever. And they're also not buying either. Because in order for them, a lot of these deals done by major funds are being done OTC, not on the market, because there's just not liquidity to support it. You put $100,000, or you put $100,000. I know that a guy bought Aleph. There was an institutional guy, or probably more of a fund level guy, who was buying Aleph about a week ago, and he moved the market like 40% in a day, just with the buy orders. So, and he bought maybe about 150 grand worth of Aleph. And if you've got big pockets, the biggest issue with this market is that you can't enter and exit without physically moving the market. So no, short answer, no, it's not institutions, and it's not your real big HNW funds and things like that are investing. They would invest literally in Ethereum, Bitcoin, any like top 10 assets, maybe Chainlink, because now that's up there. But at the moment they just can't get in there because of liquidity.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, that's a nice little intro into getting into today's session. And for those that are tuning in for the first time, the way that we do it every Saturday is we usually talk for around an hour, and we give you the latest news from Southeast Asia with a focus on blockchain and crypto and fintech as a whole. And I traditionally always have 3 slides and try and keep it quick and give you some interesting news that's kind of been happening over the week. So, Luke, are you ready for some slides?
Go. So, highlight of my week, getting your slides, mate.
Good. Hi, Mummy Ice says hi. So hi, Mummy Ice. Thanks for tuning in. All right. So getting straight into it. Right. We always love to see adoption. In the blockchain space. That's kind of why we're here. We're trying to get more people to get into the space, and it's always great to see new projects like kind of making headway. And the first slide that we have today is basically about one of the blockchains called Nulls. So that's actually an enterprise blockchain that's originated, I believe, in Singapore. But so Nulls right now is actually being integrated to track food provenance in Singapore. Right. So the business case here is that Singapore basically imports 90% of its food from neighboring countries, and is currently facing a COVID-induced food crisis. Maybe that's overly stated in that article that I read. But what they really have a big problem is with provenance of food, right? So there was a survey that was conducted at the end of last year in 2019. So it's between April and December, and it showed 13% of 2,825 units of vegetables failed inspections due to chemical residues, and meat also had similar results. So what they're saying is that 13% of food that gets imported into Singapore, like raw materials, raw foods that actually go into across the border, get rejected because it doesn't meet the high standards of Singapore's like non-chemical food regulations, right? So what's happened is that Nulls and the Singapore Food Agency, and so Nulls, which is owned by a company called Veritag, has partnered up with the Singapore Food Agency and a company called ST Engineering to form a partnership to monitor food provenance. So basically from the point of creation up to the point of sale. So we've heard of those kind of projects a lot, but it's great to, when Singapore is using it, right, that's kind of like a testament to say like, yeah, this blockchain is up to par, and provides a high level service that, a top country in the world basically can implement. Have you heard of any similar kind of projects, Lee?
As in regards to food safety, or?
Yeah, and would like even like kind of provenance and supply chain.
There were a few. Provenance especially is an interesting one for the blockchain space. I remember there was a project. I can't remember what it was called though. There's been a few, especially in the art space, which is obviously where provenance is incredibly important, to say that this piece of art that you're spending $45 million on is actually the correct piece of art and not a forgery. But I think that's an interesting use case. But I don't think people. I don't think from a retail perspective, from an everyday human being perspective, that something like that is going to be is ever really going to be appealing. So yeah, that's all I have to say about that from an investment point. But I think that Knowles is good as a chain because obviously a number of projects that have been following started on Knowles, and Aleph is one, for example. But yeah, as far as food security, all that kind of stuff, I mean, I'll be honest, when it comes to supply chain, food security, all these things, I know that there are already systems in place. And although there are benefits to blockchain being implemented, the biggest issue is that you have so many different parties involved that would need to get on board, that it makes it incredibly challenging to be able to say, I'm going to implement blockchain into the supply chain, because the supply chain has so many parties, as in so many different companies, so many different interests, that getting them all to agree on something is nearly impossible. Sort of like getting your mates. I've always said this, it's like the hardest part is like trying to get 5 friends to decide where to have dinner on a Friday night is hard enough as it is. So imagine trying to get 10 different companies to decide what back-end software they're going to use for their supply chain. Very, very difficult task.
Yeah. I 100% agree. There is actually a case with Maersk. So the shipping company, the global shipping company that does all the freight shipping. They actually implemented something with IBM. Now I can see like a Maersk who basically have been in like the freight forwarding service, or like the commercial supply chain kind of business for how many years, and it's basically got a lot of clout, and they're such a huge company, right? They could, they have basically probably the authority and the dominance to be able to actually create something like that and get buy-in. But like, when you're looking at just a regular blockchain company coming in and trying to like get like various different suppliers in an industry that maybe they're not specialized in, that's definitely going to be a challenge. All right. But it seems like, if they've got the Singapore Food Agency on board, right? So I reckon that once they've got one of those Singaporean government agencies on board, it's probably going to give them some weight and some easier an easier time basically to onboard suppliers. So I guess we're going to have to monitor that one and see. But a question for you then. So you did some background research into Aleph, and Aleph was released on Knowles. Is there anything in particular about Knowles that we should be wary of?
Not wary. Knowles is allowed. Basically, it's a staking platform. I know that the way that Aleph used it was it's a staking platform where you can support support minor blockchains by staking your Knowles nodes and resources to support individual projects. And you can earn Knowles, and you earn tokens for that project on the Nulls chain, and it's sort of a bit of an interesting. I mean, I don't want to get too deep into it because it will get complicated. But Nulls is a good chain to incubate smaller projects on, which is what I like about it, and that's what makes it like, you know, it enables small, you know, blockchain startups to, you know, implement to test whatever they're going to do and build whatever they're going to do on that chain before then either building their own or then moving to something like an ERC20 or something. So, I mean, I really like the concept of Nulls. I mean, anything that involves actual staking, as in there is value to stake, and then you can understand that there are mechanics behind staking that are more than just you get rewarded with tokens for staking. I really like, which is what happens with Nulls. So I do like that about them. But I wouldn't really say there's anything to be wary of. I mean, it's a completely decentralized platform, so it's not like there's, you know, something malicious that can happen on the chain that could rip people off or something.
Okay, good to know. All right, let's move on. Let's see if that's working. Okay, there we go. All right. So as you know, we love anything crypto and fintech in the Southeast Asian region in particular, right? And this week there was an article published about basically a survey results that was collected by this one company called ONFO. ONFO. They basically published some results showing how quickly cryptocurrencies are being spread in different countries, right? And the way that they basically measure this is they take one active crypto user and they check basically how many people this one active crypto user can influence other people or attract other people into the system, right? And so they will have a system basically that shows you, okay, one user can attract X number of more users into the system. And so they did this survey from 700 people, so not a huge survey, but not the smallest either, but it covered quite a few countries. So it covered the US, Great Britain, Germany, China, Russia, Indonesia, and Brazil, right? So they all took part. And what they found is actually that the kind of the more developing countries basically were spreading crypto adoption faster than like the modern kind of countries. So just to give you some examples, right? So I call them attraction rates, but I don't actually know what the official metric is here. But per single active crypto user, you were seeing basically in like CIS countries, so CIS countries being like Armenia, Azerbaijan, Belarus, all those places, they could attract 63 new users into the system. So then in Indonesia, it was around 58, Brazil was 56. And then if you look and you go down, basically like in contrast, you know, in the US, one active crypto users are only attracting 17 new users into the system. Or if you go to Germany, there was only 6, and the UK was only 8. So that's a fun fact for this week.
Who would have guessed? The issue is always going to be how they're being attracted. I mean, obviously, a project that I have no respect for, which is Fortifex, is fairly, I'd probably say fairly popular in, say, the Philippines. Well, popular until the government came out and said if you promote it, you'll get sent to jail. But I mean, it's a fairly, you know, that would have been a project that has attracted an immense amount of people to crypto. And that actually started in the CIS region and then spread to Southeast Asia, and I can imagine they're in South America. And I'm not trying to step on any toes here, but based on stuff like Herbalife, anywhere south of the US border really does like their pyramid schemes and their MLM selling. So yeah, it's a bit crazy. So where's my mouse? So I would be having a look at that. So it's
Yeah, it's a good point. It's a good point.
Yeah.
Like, how do people actually get attracted into the system? It's not just, I mean, I'm sure a few of those are kind of like referrals, like you get X amount of crypto back for like referring how many friends, right? And then, others might be, I guess it's always like ambassador models, right? But some of them might be a bit more sinister, like down the MLM kind of route.
So I think that I'm saying it's interesting. The only concern I have, and I'm going to sound like I'm a negative human being, but the only concern I have is how those users are being attracted, especially because of the specifically the countries that are mentioned there with those high rates, and of course, sometimes greed attracts people more than anything else. The interesting one though is China, where you're getting a significant amount of high users. And I think that the real interesting one is China though, because their ability to adopt digital finance is fairly high, considering with the way that WePay works, and obviously all the different platforms they have over there. It's quite interesting. So that's pretty much my little summary on that one.
All right, and we'd love to hear for the viewers that tune in right now. Let us know how you got involved in crypto. Who brought you in, or did you bring in other people, and how did you do it? Share some stories with us. Love to hear
some comments are better than others. He's seeing these comments, Peter.
I'm seeing the comments. All right, man. So wow, we're burning through the slides today. I mean, to be honest, like there were a few big updates in Southeast Asia in terms of blockchain this week, but I've picked out the ones that I think are kind of like the bigger ones and a bit more relevant to us. And guess what? So Thailand made it into the slides again for this week, and they're making strides yet again in the blockchain enterprise space. And this time it's in terms of renewable energy certificates. Right, so that's pretty interesting. I don't know if Luke, have you heard about Power Ledger before?
Power Ledger, yeah, of course. It's an Australian company.
It is indeed, yeah. So have you spoken with Gemma Green, or have you just seen any articles from her?
No.
Okay. Okay. Well, okay. So it's an Australian company, as Luke mentions. It's a company called Power Ledger. They basically have been specializing in the renewable energy space, right? And they've been basically pairing up blockchain technology to be able to trade certificates. I honestly don't understand exactly how that works, but all I know is that they have this like a marketplace where you have people creating certificates for the amount of like energy that's being created by renewable energy sources, right? And then they use basically the blockchain as this means of the platform for exchange, right? So it's just to give you some kind of background into this particular story, right? So you've got Power Ledger partnering together with the renewable energy company based in Thailand, which is called BCPG, right? And they partnered up together with the Thai Digital Energy Development, so the TDED, right? And they are basically creating these new certificates, which are called the Renewable Energy Certificates, RECs, right? And again, like I mentioned, they're using blockchain as a marketplace, and they want to be able to trade these certificates across the region. Now, it's not the first time we talked about Thailand. Like in the last couple of weeks, it's just been like one after the other, really. Like I think was it last week?
We did talk about it last week.
Yeah. Well, I can't remember what we talked about now. But one was about driving licenses, right, and identity. The other one was about, do you remember?
It was identity and people being able to use their driver's license as a
and then there was one about the courts. Now I remember it. Now they were basically going to have basically arbitrators and like they were going to have like legal settlements like enabled through like blockchain powered quartz. So pretty progressive stuff from Thailand actually, and they just keep coming out with new stuff every week at the moment. So I think it's been kind of 3 weeks back to back now. But yeah, so apparently they have this live pilot that's happening right now. This P2P platform, and apparently they're testing it out in Sukhumvit in Bangkok. So it'd be interesting to see what comes out of that. What's your experience in this?
Sorry, I have really interesting news, and also because I'm going to talk. I talked about this in my video as a project that I liked, but Sushi Swap just exit scammed.
No.
Yeah.
Did they?
So, well, apparently, so not exit scammed. So it just a tweet's just come out saying anonymous founder of Sushi Swap sells all his sushi. Who could have predicted this? And then you can see the transactions where 2 million sushi have been swapped, and then all the liquidity removed from Sushi Swap. But then Nomi Chef, the founder, like the main tweet said, people asked if I exit scam. I did not. I'm still here. I'll continue to participate in this discussion, help with the technical part. I'll ensure that we have a successful migration. So it's an interesting one.
Do you have a link? Is there a website? Is there an article?
Oh, wait. No, it's Twitter. It's all Twitter.
Oh,
but,
show us the Twitter.
Well, it started with Spencer Noon, but he exited. And then he's admitted that he's not exit scamming. He's admitted that he's I'll put it in here in our little discussion. But he's saying that he's exit scamming, and then yeah, it's pretty interesting. But wait, I'll put it in the private chat. I don't know how to put it in the main one. But yeah, pretty cool.
Can you put it up on the screen? Actually, I'll put it up on the screen.
There you go.
Let's have a look at this. All right. Did anyone else get involved in Sushi Swap? Anyone buy some sushi this week?
Based on our comments, it's about something else is going on. But yeah, so that's. But it's it's a funny, mate. It's a pretty interesting one. But I mean, I guess probably what I'll say in the article. I mean, there was. I did actually think Sushi Swap was reasonably cool because of what they were trying to do with Uniswap. But obviously, stuff like this isn't cool, where you, where main founders are basically pulling out roughly about 20,000 ether, which is a fair amount of money. Yeah, so it's a fair amount of money. So yeah, it's and it started with a. I think that this is going to be a very interesting thing, and yeah.
Okay, so I'm checking. I can see the tweet right now. Give me a second. That's coming up right now. So teach us, man. I mean, like, how? Yeah. So, how exactly do you track this? And I see. Yeah, talk us through this. Like.
Oh, so what Sushi Swap essentially was trying? What Sushi essentially was. It was an idea where Sushi Swap, which was meant to replace Uniswap, or they were trying to compete with Uniswap as being a decentralized exchange. However, what they were doing was offering people, if you staked your Uniswap liquidity into the sushi protocol, you will get rewarded with sushi tokens. And there was a one week period where you would get double, or was it a 2 week period where you would earn double the amount of sushi? So that means that the more you staked, then there was going to be a liquidity reward of, like, say, 100 after 2 weeks, 100 per block. But for the first 2 weeks, it was 1,000 per block. So it really encouraged people to put their liquidity in. Then what happens is these tokens are awarded to people, and then it's seen as being then they're obviously a governance token, so you can vote on the point of this whole thing. People get excited. And then in order to push up the price, or I guess keep the price of the sushi token stable, if you staked in the F sushi pool, you are offered double rewards. So you would not be only getting, you would be getting, instead of 1,000 tokens split between the pool a day, you'd be getting 2,000. But then obviously the reason why, and who knows, this is all speculation because it's all just happened. If you then basically were obviously, if it is malicious and it was someone trying to scam people, then what it meant was that he was basically trying to get as many people into the sushi liquidity pool in Uniswap as humanly possible, so that he could exit with the most amount of Ethereum, and then still have enough liquidity in the pool left over to then sell the remainder of his sushi as humanly possible, which is, out of these two transactions that have happened, look about likely. Now, I'm going to have a quick look on Uniswap Vision, and we'll see what's happened to the price. Sushi, oh yeah, it's absolutely tanked. So sushi got to a high of about $12. And then today, that last hour, if it has happened in the last hour, it hasn't done much to the price. The price has started falling since the 5th of September. So today, in the last, say, it's been the last 12 hours. It's gone from $5 to $2. So it's not quite as crazy as hot dog. But I think that, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out.
Let me. So I'm going to stop sharing screen. Can you share your screen to just show us?
Hold on, I've got to shift it over to my other screen, my big one.
Sure.
Since I'm talking about this stuff, and I'll pull the chart over as well. It's pretty interesting. This is the joys of DeFi. Personally, I think that something like YFI is a good project, but I think anything that comes afterwards is you have a higher chance of getting wrecked than otherwise. So yeah. Hold on.
So I was surprised that you were saying about trillions of percent was there for hot dog, because I thought Kimchi was the highest with like 1,000,000% APY.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
There was more than 1 million.
How is that even happening? Like, how do you get 1,000,000% APY?
It's because it calculates it based on the amount of those tokens that you're farming and the current value of those tokens. That's how it works. So yeah, give me a second. I'm in the thing dealing with some other things. Application window. So that's. Oh wait, it's not up.
It's up now. Oh yeah, my god.
So that's sushi, which is pretty cool. But this is just today. This is the last 12 hours. But that's not uncommon in the market at the moment.
Yeah.
And then here we see all the stuff that's been happening. So this came out 17 minutes ago when I brought it up, which is sort of about this. So what's happened here is that, the action, the most recent action, is the swap. And then before that, it was the removal. So he removed 2 million sushi and 20,000 Ethereum, and then sold 2 million sushi for 17,000 Ethereum. So 40,000 odd Ethereum at, let's call it $400. So reasonable amount of money. And then obviously you can see, but this only just happened. So this would have been maybe this bar here from $3 down to $2.
So this is the founder, is it? The founder.
Nomi Chef, apparently. So then when you go and look on his, then you go have a look on his thing, and he's like, if people think I exit scammed, I did not. I'm still here. I'll continue to participate.
He's saying he's still at the top. Satoshi Light did that, and Litecoin had no problem surviving. Oh my god.
Yeah.
So basically, I've dumped on all of you guys, but you're gonna still love my project.
Yeah, all dev shares will not be under my control. They're under the multi-sig. Blah blah blah. So
it's quite scary, honestly. Like these people are like, it's completely, it's pure greed, right? And this guy's obviously not doing it for the betterment of like the whole crypto space. They're rather it was a pure get rich quick scheme for this guy.
So it worked. It hasn't probably done anything good for the industry, but yeah, I think what will then happen now, I mean, I think it could be good, because it means that from now on, people will no longer think that people will no longer just get into these random projects and start staking and doing all that, unless they honestly believe in it. So at the moment, I think at the moment it's probably a good thing to. I think at the moment it's probably a good thing to have happened.
Yeah. Well, man, I mean, always do your own research, right? And I mean, even Wi-Fi, that took me forever to read up on, and I still don't think I understand all of it. I don't probably understand.
Wi-Fi just basically helps you automate the process, and it helps you helps people pull their resources, so that if you and I do it, if it's sort of like. Okay, so I've got $10,000 I want to farm some yield on in Curve, and you've got $10,000 to do it as well. Now, if I do it on my own, let's say at the moment it's going to cost me about $30 in Ether to execute the contract to get me into Curve, and then it's going to cost you $30 to get you into Curve. Or what you can do is you can spend like $3 to send me your 15,000 US, and then I can then spend $30 on my own to then put in 30, because the transaction is what costs money, not the underlying value of the asset. So what Wi-Fi does is it basically gets everyone's money, pulls it together, and then as it does the DeFi cycle, when it does the yield farming cycle, the FVs are incredibly low, relatively speaking.
Yeah, so you save on gas fees, basically. They help you.
You save a lot of money on gas fees, but also it does it in the most efficient way.
Right. But then
everything in the most efficient way.
There's the other part, right? So they basically aggregate all that CRV. So like you earn YCRV when you're providing to like.
No, you don't. You don't earn YCRV. You're given. You trade your US dollars for YCRV tokens. Because you're submitting USDT or USDC or DAI, whatever. You're putting that asset into the Y Curve platform. Then what happens is you then stake that Y Curve into say for example, Wi-Fi Vault. Then what happens is the Vault address is the one that will earn the Curve tokens, which are a reward for staking in Curve. Then what Wi-Fi does is they then sell the Curve tokens that they earn once a day at a random time, and then they then buy more. They then turn that USDT into more Y Curve. So, and then that Y Curve then goes back into the vault, which is shared by all vault holders, and then recycled over and over again. So they're getting an exponential amount of Curve tokens, selling them back into the market, buying, turning that into USDT, putting that back into the Curve pool, and then running it as a big circular thing. Now they can do that without too much effort. I mean, it's all done by smart contracts, but they can basically do that with minimal fees comparatively, and they can actually make some good money. And that's why the API is like on on the vaults are like 98% or 90% or something at the moment. Then what happens is that Wi-Fi, then if you exit, you lose 0.5%, and that's how Wi-Fi make their money. Well, that's how the Wi-Fi treasury feels itself. So yeah, that's how it works. Sorry, I can't get into. I can't spread it out any more than that.
No. Oh, wait a minute. What happened to your explainer video? Did you ever release that?
Oh, dude, I've been too busy. Too busy doing a whole bunch of other crypto-related stuff. So I'm doing the history video. I started doing that. Was what I was meant to release this week. Was a combination of what was it? History, then leading into 5 ways you can earn in DeFi. And that would, getting into detail about liquidity providing, and then details into how, Wi-Fi and Curve and all these different protocols works. And then I did the history part, and that took up 19 minutes. So I was like, well, I better just do that one on its own and then get onto the other one later. So the history one is what I'm going to literally upload straight after this. And then, and that's pretty much what I've been working on as far as from a YouTube kind of perspective.
Sweet. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, afterwards, what we've just seen just now with sushi, everyone needs to get educated on this stuff. And you need to basically know what you're investing in, because otherwise that sounds like a classic rug pull.
I think this is going to be the end of anonymous. If this is legit about sushi, I think that it's going to be the end of anonymous founders. I think that we need to go back to, it's going to go back to actual individuals, actual teams that are visible, that have credibility, and people. I think that, and it's not a bad thing. Like, this was bound to happen. You get, the founder of Uniswap's all over Twitter. You know who he is. You know what circles he runs in. Like, the shot to his credibility is going to be massive if he exits scams. So it's like, you can trust these guys, generally speaking. Okay, just remember, and especially in the Philippines and Indonesia, Malaysia, all these places, credibility is such a huge issue, or not an issue. It's such a huge asset. So, for example, if you take out a loan on some of those lending apps, and they don't, and if you're just like if you don't have a job, or you don't earn much money, and you're taking out a $1,000 loan, their asset on you with these loaning apps is your contact list on your phone. And if you don't pay your debt, they message your friends, your family, everyone on your contact list, that is in your phone, and they say, this person owes us money, get them to pay. Now, that's because obviously your credibility and your reputation is an asset. And that's sort of how those loan things work. So I think we're sort of getting to that stage now where if you're completely anonymous, it's incredibly easy to rip people off. So I think hopefully we'll get to a point where people are only investing and following projects that aren't part of an anonymous team, that actually have a founder that has a name to it, that isn't just going to exit. Now, if anyone's concerned about Wi-Fi, like, for example, Wi-Fi, everyone knows who the founder is. He's got his Twitter, he's got his reputation in crypto, he's done all these different things, and his code has been reviewed 1,000,001 times. And he actually owns very minimal Wi-Fi tokens. And he actually, in order for him to get paid by Wi-Fi, it actually had to go to a vote. And the first vote, people voted against it, to say, no, we're not paying this dude who just built this platform and made us all this money.
But that was just new tokens, right? They wanted to mint new tokens to pay him.
Yeah, for the founding team. But then they said no. So they came up with a different way to manage that, which I think has been voted in, because everybody wanted a new UI because the old UI was disgusting. So, I mean, at least you know who the founder is. The code's been reviewed 1,000,001 times by different people. The only issue is that, and I think we talked about this on a previous stream, is that he deploys straight to prod as opposed to going through a testing environment. But that aside, I mean, at least you know who the guy is. With a lot of these projects, I mean, anonymous founders and blah, 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 it's always going to end badly. I don't think there's ever been a time in human history where anonymity leads to leads to a positive outcome for a whole community. So yeah, I mean, like I generally think that 9 times out of 10, if it's anonymous, that someone will try to pull the rug at some point. And who knows, maybe in 2 years' time, when Bitcoin's at $50 million or at $100,000 or something, maybe that famous Satoshi wallet will get emptied and we'll all get rug pulled, and it will be a 15-year experiment that didn't work out too well for everyone in the crypto space.
Oh my God! Touch wood. Touch wood.
Well, look, even if that did happen, at least I think that by then there's enough technology, there's enough of an industry in crypto that I think that there would be something left. There would be an industry left. It would probably take a bit of time to recover, but I think that there's enough of an industry here that even the fall of Bitcoin, I think there's enough to survive. I mean, the fact that all the stuff that's happening with Ethereum, the fact that it's being used so much, and even this DeFi stuff makes it pretty interesting.
Oh yeah, look. So Dane just mentioned Binance listed sushi outside the scope of their current due diligence, and way too fast. Yeah, I mean that's completely true. Yeah, it's true. And that's the thing, is it's too easy as the ERC20 tokens, right? I was speaking to some guys in the local industry here. They were just saying, like, look, it's just a flick of a switch, literally, to list new tokens now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in Uniswap, yeah, but I mean, like I said, I mean, and Dane, who actually, yeah, I know Dane quite well, but I think that, and I agree that it's one of those stupid things where people are going to, I mean, I don't know what, I mean, I reckon there's going to be a lot of blowback on Binance for listing sushi. If this ends up being true and being an actual rug pull, I mean, we'll wait and see a few days. We'll see what happens. If it ends up true, there will be so much blowback on Binance for listing it.
Well, the guy just said he sold the top, basically. And like, Litecoin community had no problem surviving after basically Charlie Lee did that.
Yeah, but he took a number of years to do it, as opposed
to
I know. One day just dumping. You know, we're talking dumping the equivalent of 40,000, just under 40,000 ETH.
It's insane.
Which is not. I mean, that's 40,000 times 400. What's that? $4 million? No, it's more than 4 million, isn't it?
Oh, Jesus, mate. Okay,
can't be that much.
16 million, my friend.
Yeah, there you go. 16 million bucks. Boom. Hi, how you going? I promise you, Charlie Lee didn't pull that out in a day. So it's. I think that it's pretty much that's the end of it. I think that this project is completely. I think that the project's going to be in a bit of trouble.
So Dane's wondering if Binance will actually let it die, and if they're just going to scoop some up and prop up the price. But I can't see them doing that. You know, this is the time where don't forget, Dane, that like Binance has already delisted a lot of coins, which basically had no trading volume anymore. You know, that's happened in the past. So I don't think they have a problem if and if anything, it's going to raise flags about doing better due diligence with these.
Oh, he's still tweeting. He's still tweeting about the reasons why he's done it. So, and he's talking about putting the money into a multi-sig and blah 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 blah. And so who knows? Who knows what will happen?
Is he gonna lock up a bit for himself and then put the rest?
Who knows? We'll see. We'll see. I mean, the jury's out. It could be legit. It could be legit. And I think that. And who knows? Maybe the fact that maybe Binance did do their due diligence, and we'll all see. But it's going to be an interesting thing to watch. But I think that if the founder did just do that, he probably wasted one of the biggest opportunities that he could have had in his life to build something that was bigger, and then he would have made more money later on down the line. So we'll see how this plays out. I mean, I've always said that Justin's son, I reckon Justin probably did an ICO in order to say, to make a few quick bucks, and then he was unfortunately too successful, and then couldn't back out. And now he's, and then he sort of built it into something that's significantly bigger than what could have been a couple of $1 million ICO.
Sushi should have been built on Tron. I mean,
yeah,
Tron,
there you go.
Their DeFi. listings as well, right?
Yeah. So it's an interesting one. Anyway, 5 minutes. We might clean up 5 minutes early because I think I want to go and put some time into rambling on Telegram about all this crazy shit.
All right, cool. All right, well, thanks for tuning in, everyone. Thanks, Luke.
That's right. In about hopefully in about 15 minutes there'll be a new video on my channel. Hopefully,
yeah.
depending on how fast I can upload it.
Everyone. All right, cool. Well, we'll wrap it up for this week, and we'll see you next week.
All right, see you, dudes.
See ya.